Welcome back, Software 2. We are now going to start using the fonts we added in the last video. So if you have not found fonts on fonts.google.com and you have not added the link to those fonts in your HTML, please stop this video, go back, watch the first one, come back here when all that is done. So our last step before was pasting this link into our HTML page. And I realized in the last video that wasn't really explained why we do that. All computers do not know all of the same fonts, although it is much more streamlined now than it was back in the 90s and early 2000s. So if we want to use different fonts on our website, we have to make sure the computer knows how to find and display those every single time. Otherwise, it's going to fill in like a weird default font, which doesn't always look the best. So this is just our way of telling the website when it loads, these are the font names, go find them. When you see them, make sure you display in that correct font. Once this link is here, we might use it as a reference, but we don't really need to change or edit this at all. So we're going to head to our JavaScript, and the first thing I'm going to do is just add a few pieces of text just to remind us how to do that. So remember that adding words on the screen always is the function text, T-E-X-T, and I'm going to go ahead and add 3 right away. And that function takes in a few different things. The first thing it takes in is a string, and a string is anything between 2 quotations that the computer is just displaying as words. So my first string might say, hello world, and in addition to that string of text that is going to display, it needs a location to display at. So I'm going to put this one at 2020. My next one is going to say, how are you? And I will put this one at, let's do 2100. And my last one, I'll put, I'm doing good as my string in quotes, and I'll put it at 2200. So I'm going to save this and hit play. And I see that now I have 3 strings. They're all at the same place on the x-axis, different places on the y. But they're all displaying same size in the same boring font. And the first thing we're actually going to do is not going to involve the fonts we found at all. We're just going to review changing size, which is something that a lot of you have figured out on your own again, but that I have maybe not taught you explicitly, so I want to make sure everybody knows. If I want these to be different sizes, I can change that using the command text size. Text size takes in a number. So it's not a string, there are no quotes around it. But if I wanted this to be bigger, I might make it text size 18. I might make this one text size 30. And maybe I make this one text size 20. Actually, let's do 24. These are very similar to font sizes you guys have worked with. So if you're trying to get a feel for what does that size actually look like, think of anytime you change size in a Google Doc or a Google presentation, same idea. And much like fill, stroke weight, once you put in a text size, it's going to apply to everything underneath it. So if I did not have line 11 and line 14, everything would become text size 18. And also much like with shapes, if I want to change the size of the text, best practice is to do that above the text I am trying to change, because my code does run in order from top to bottom. So I'm going to hit play and just see what happens. And we should see that now we have 3 different sized pieces of text. And now we're going to start actually using the fonts that we've chosen. So I chose 3 fonts. They are still hanging out off to the side in my tab for fonts.google.com. And I'm just going to use the 3 in order. So I'm going to use Bangers, Indie Flower, and Lobster. Now to use these, again, I want to change the font before the text I'm changing, so on the line above. I'm going to call a function called textFont that takes in a string and only a string. And the string that it takes in is the name of the font that I am trying to change exactly as it's written. So same capitalization, same spelling, same everything. If you have a font that will not change, it will not display the way it's supposed to, most likely you have a typo somewhere. You didn't capitalize something, you forgot a space. So that's why being able to look back at these font names is so important. So the first one I want to use is Bangers, and I will show you guys in the HTML. If you ever forget your font names, it is displayed in this HTML link. I see that my first font is called Bangers right here, and it has a capital B. So as a string in quotes, I'm going to put Bangers. And then I'm going to hit play. And I should notice that every single thing on my screen changed to this Bangers font where it's like bold and kind of italic, which is cool. But if I want them to be different, every single one of these needs its own text font function call. So I'm going to go down to my next one, and right above my text, I'm going to do text font. And again, I'm putting a string. This time, if I look back, I see that I'm doing indie flower, and in my HTML it shows up as indie plus flower, but in my Google name, I know that it's indie space flower. Anytime you see a plus in your URL that you've pasted, that's the way that it's saying put a space there. That's how the computer like knows that it's space. So here I would type indie flower and then close it up. If I hit play, I now have 1 in Bangers and I have 2 in indie flower. So now I'm going to go down to my last one, which is called Lobster, and I'm going to write in text font, and I'm going to write in Lobster, and I'm going to hit play, and now I have 3 different fonts on my page. We're going to play more with formatting text in coming lessons, and tomorrow you'll have lots of time to play and explore and find fonts, but I wanted to make sure that you guys were able to at least change between them and see how this works. If you have any questions, please make sure you reach out by email or leave me a note in your assignment page, or better yet, come to office hours and I can help you out. Bye.